Shulim Evrocha. Let's learn a bit of Sefas Emes together. Parsha's Behaloscha. So the Sefas Emes opens up his discussion. He says, if a person wants to grow in his avodah, his service to Hashem, should he deliberately place himself into a situation in which he will be tested? Very interesting question. So according to the Sefas Emes, the answer to this question is found in this week's Parsha. So after Bnei Yisrael left Har Sinai, the Torah tells us that they complained that they had no meat to eat. So Rashi asks that in fact they had a lot of meat. The Psikim relate that they left Mitzrayim, Egypt, with cattle and sheep, and that when they entered Eretz Yisrael, they also had cattle and sheep. So why did they complain? What's the problem? So Rashi answers that they were looking for an excuse. They were looking for an excuse for a complaint. Sefas Emes asks that since they had all this meat, it's all there in the back garden, everyone sees it. It's not even a lame excuse. What are you starting up with? You've got the stuff, it's here. It's not. So it was no excuse at all. Well, what then is the meaning of the complaint? So we can find a clue in the beginning of the Pasuk in which they complain. The Pasuk tells us they caused themselves to crave. So we can infer that at first they had no real desire for this meat. They had mon. I mean, they didn't really. Yet they caused themselves to desire. So the cigarette, they worked. Their mindset was causing them. They worked on having this desire. How is it that they had no desire initially? Furthermore, since they had no desire, why did they deliberately bring it on? So the Sefas Emes explains that they were on a very high madrega. They were very spiritually on a tremendously high level. And they were on the level beyond nature, a level on which they were free from the Yetzer Hara of the everyday. So for them to want to have this kind of stuff, it was beyond they were in a different realm. Remember, they had spent the previous year following receiving the Torah in a very highly spiritually energized environment. They were at the foot of Mount Sinai, basking in Kaviyuchel, in the Shechina, which was mamish manifesting itself in the Mishkan. All their physical needs were provided for. So they were allowed to focus completely on the spiritual. Everything was ruchnius. And they were above the physical desire. Yet they caused themselves to crave meat. Why? Says the Sefas Emes, that he explains that they wanted to reach an even higher level spiritually. They wanted to merit giving Kaviyuchel Hashem even more nachas, if you will, by eating something as physical as meat in holiness. Do you follow? They were eating man. This is coming from Shemayim. Now what they wanted to do, they set themselves up that they should want to eat meat, which is gashmi, which is the material world, and bring that meat into a higher realm by making a bracha and by doing it l'shem shemayim. So they wanted to go beyond what the Eibusher was asking of them. So leading a very holy life while totally detached from the physical world, is obviously certainly a very high level. But leading a holy life within the physical world is certainly even a higher level. And we find this concept, there's a medrash on the pasuk that says that, and to serve him with all your soul, b'chol nafshcha. Yeah. So what is it saying here? The medrash says that the way to serve Hashem with all your soul, which we say all the time in Shema, is by directing all the attributes, all the forces within yourself, within your neshama, within your experience, including the physical desires, towards avoidance Hashem, towards serving Hashem. So when the nation complained that our soul is dry, right? They were complaining that because they were living such a highly spiritual environment, they did not have any opportunity to dive into Hashem with all the aspects, all the attributions of their neshamas, because that part of the Gashmi wasn't involved in their daily life. They were beyond that. So their souls were dry, so to speak, because they didn't have that aspect of wanting the material world. So they wanted to rectify, to bring a tikkun to this situation by causing themselves to crave meat, although they had no yetzer hara for meat, but they wanted to push themselves to want to have the meat, so that they could serve Hashem by bringing the meat, the gashmias, into their avodas Hashem. However, Kaviyuchel the Eibishter does not agree with this approach. A person should be more concerned with violating the rotzon of Hashem by deliberately placing himself in a risky situation, even if by doing so he might reach a higher spiritual level. Take it easy. Hashem's not asking you to do that. You should be more worried about violating the rotzon haborah by placing yourself in danger, even though you think by getting through this danger, I'll be in a higher level. No. The fact, Sefas Emes explains, that one who does this is demonstrating an element of selfishness. Because those who are truly concerned only about doing the rotzon haborah, only doing God's will be content with a simpler approach, and he'll rely on Hashem to provide tests. The Irish is all help him is only bad. But I think we've seen this Sefas Emes is touching on such a beautiful aspect. We're not meant. We're to take the things that are brought to us, the initiations that we're given, work through them, see them as what they are, make them part of your approach to your totality, and don't test or don't push, don't seek that which is not yours in spiritual terms. In dem Schluss, so wir alle geholfen werden, und we should meet each other Gesundheit, wenn wir heiraten, wie der Mashiach soll kommen.